My top tips, like I said, for creating that online profile that's going to attract your dream woman your way. So tip number 1 is that you need to put in actual effort into completing your profile. I can't stress this enough. So obviously we've talked about before the importance behind photos. Those are key. That's one of the key places. But equally as key is your online bio and your profile itself. Because a lot of people, like I said, tend to put the importance more on photos, but you should be putting equal importance on your bio as well. Women especially read bios. I know men out there read bios as well, but women especially are reading bios and they want to get to know you more through those bios. So putting in the actual effort into completing your profile. The biggest mistakes I remember, even when I was online dating before I met my partner, that I would see from men were things like a blank profile. A profile that said, all it said was, just message me. Yeah, message you about what? Right? Another one that would say, just add me to my Instagram, add me on Facebook, here's the link and all that. It's like, no, just kind of those kind of things that really, don't showcase that effort. That man hasn't taken that effort to really put in, into completing his profile. And it's important to take the time to not only give thought towards your bio itself, but some of the platforms out there ask you questions. So put some thought into answering those questions, because that's part of your overall profile as well. So you really want to try to avoid leaving anything blank. You want to show a completed profile. And that's also a lot of online dating platforms out there. When it comes to thinking about things like the algorithm and increasing your visibility even more through online dating, a completed profile is going to be more friendly when looking at the algorithm and shown to more women out there on a lot of the dating platforms that you can be on. So it's really important to really focus on putting in the effort, completing your profile, because when you don't complete your bio, you don't write anything, or you write the things I mentioned, like the just message me or add me to Instagram or Facebook, something like that, it really gives off the vibe and implicitly tells a woman that you are someone who is very lazy and not actually serious about online dating, or dating in general, I should say. And in turn, she's going to take that as, well, if you're not serious about online dating and she's over here, looking for someone that could eventually be her life partner, her dream man, things like that, she's going to in turn look at that as like, well, okay, if you're not serious, you're not taking this small thing in the grand scheme of things, this small thing, your online dating profile, if you're not taking it seriously, then, you're not going to take our relationship seriously. You're not going to take me seriously. And so it's something to really, put in that effort. It really matters. And like I said, women out there really especially read bios. So the next tip I want to share with you is to stand out and not be generic or boring. Okay, so it's a little general speaking when I share that tip with you. So how can you stand out? How can you not sound generic? How can you not sound like every other guy out there? How can you not sound boring to her? Well, how you can go about this is essentially following the, I don't want to say golden rule, but it's definitely like one of those golden rules of the show, don't tell. Joe, there needs to be an online dating platform specifically for the lazy and or shallow people. I'm not sure about that, but they just shouldn't be online dating. Yeah, if they're not going to take it seriously. That's my opinion. You shouldn't be even online dating if you're not going to take it seriously. And that's even if you're just looking to like hook up and stuff like that. Take your hookup one night stand you're looking for. Take that seriously, you know? If that's what you're looking for, you know, just be upfront in that way, of course. But, Joe, I'm kidding, obviously, LOL. Okay. Thanks for sharing that, Joe. So going out back to this tip, though, in order to kind of stand out, like I said, you have to show, not necessarily tell. So what do I mean about that? Well, here's the thing. And I remember seeing this also on a lot of men's profiles. And I think women are pretty guilty of this as well. But, you know, being a woman and remembering my personal experiences with online dating when I was single, I'd see a lot of men out there, you know, have profiles. I'm not like other guys. I'm funny, sweet, kind. You know, I love to work out. I'm very active, stuff like that. And I like to hang out with friends and family, stuff like that. You know, very much a lot of traits that I think a lot of us can describe ourselves. And here's the problem with laying out your profile like that, is that you look like, or sound like, I should say, like every other man out there. Every other man has the same profile as you. What's going to make you stand out, right? You're not writing anything, you know, any different than the other man, any different than any of the other men out there, really. So that's why I go back to the whole show, don't tell. So you kind of want to ask yourself when you're thinking of this online dating profile, right? We all have these certain traits, right? We could be kind, active, all these traits. Whatever sort of trait you have, you can even make a list of the traits that you have. If this is easier, I find writing things down in general tends to be easier. So make a list of all the traits that you have, good traits that you have, I should state, or just activities you like to do, things like that can speak to your traits. And when you're going over this list of traits, I want you to ask yourself how and why for each trait. So I'm going to give you an example. Usually I would say ask yourself what, how, and why, but we've already answered the what through making a list of traits. So now we want to answer the how and why questions. So I'll give you an example here. So let's say a trait you list is that you're kind. You're a kind guy. Well, that's great, you're kind, but it's generic and boring, and it's probably what every other guy out there is saying. Goes back to show, don't tell. Saying you're kind is just telling me. So let's go back to those questions, the how and the why questions. So using the example of kindness. Well, how are you kind? So let's use this as an example that you showcase your kindness in life. This is proof that you're a kind person, that you volunteer in your spare time as a big brother to a small male child. Okay, you're part of the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization. That's a pretty big organization. I think that's at least North American, I believe. I'll have to double check that one. But it's basically, if you don't know what it is, it's a volunteer organization. You can basically be a role model to a small child, and a good role model to a small child that maybe comes from an environment that's not very safe, or, you know, maybe they're the family's not financially well off. They don't have, you know, a good role model, essentially, at the end of the day, within their immediate family, or anything like that. So it's a volunteer program. So let's say you're a big brother volunteer to a small male child. You're this child's male role model in life. And this, by you sharing that you volunteer, that you do this shows kindness. So we're answering the how question. Okay, this is just an example. So let's take it a little further and look at the why. Okay, so you're doing this. This is how you're showing kindness. Okay, from there, why are you kind? Why are you doing this? Well, your answer could be, well, I'm volunteering my time. I'm supporting ultimately a family that's less fortunate by being a role model to this small child. Like I want to see this child happy. I want to see them smiling. I want them to grow up well, have that positive male influence as they're growing up. Things like that. So that speaks to the why in regards to the whole kindness aspect. So when you put that all together in your bio, so as I said, so along the lines of, I'm a volunteer, I'm a big brother volunteer because I want to help others out there. I really care about my community. And I've always wanted to be that positive role model to a child so he can grow up, have a fulfilling life, have a positive experience in that way. That is so impressive to include that in an online bio versus to just say, I'm a kind guy. Do you guys see the difference there? You can let me know in the comments what you think about this example, or if it's something that's resonating with you, or, if there's any other thing, any other traits you want me to do an example of, I can also do that as well. But that's just a quick example there of the whole showing, don't tell. So another reason why this is such an effective tip to use for writing your online dating profile is that, oh, hi, Noelle. Hi. How's it going tonight? Just saw you, it just popped up saying you were watching the live. So welcome to the live. Going back to this tip though, why it's so effective though, as an online dating profile writing tip, is because it also paints me a bit of a story of kind of how your life looks like. Hi, Jason. Happy to have you on the live. Feel free to say hi in the comments. Which is really effective. If you can visually kind of paint me that story of at least a snapshot of your life, it really tells me a lot about you. And even as a bonus, if you can even go as far as to almost make me picture what kind of life would be like with you, that's an extra bonus. And that's something I'm going to be circling back around as I'm going through these tips with you guys. But that's such an effective tip because it allows me to visually picture, okay, you being this positive role model, really showcasing, your kindness there, things like that. So it's really effective tip there. So another tip, looking at profile writing, is to be very careful what you're specifically writing. In particular, do not share your sob story. So what do I mean? What do I mean by that? So your online dating profile is not the place to share about your hard upbringing, your rough childhood, and especially more so not to share about a recent breakup, a recent divorce. I have to say this, I feel like it's common sense, but I even remember when I was single and online dating, I saw so many guys' profiles out there that said, I just got out of a recent relationship. You know, I just got broken up with. I'm newly divorced. Things like that. This is, and going on and on, especially into details. There are some guys that went into really big details on their profile, and it was just like that was their profile, was their sob story. They didn't even share anything else. And this is just, you just don't do this. It's just not the place to share these really personal things. So first of all, that's something that's I view as such personal information. You shouldn't be sharing that with the whole entire world in such a public setting. And it's something that when shared in a more intimate, private setting down the line with someone, that would go over a lot more well than them reading on your profile. Just women are not going to be attracted to that energy, that vibe, what you're saying, things like that. It's just such a negative and such a turnoff for women to see a man's sob story all over his profile. And I'm sure it's no different that you men feel this way as well, kind of doing a 180 here. But when you see women posting these kind of sob stories too, right, that are talking about how they just got out of a relationship or had a really bad breakup or, recently divorced, whatever the case being, seeing these, that it's not attractive language. It's not attractive things to be talking about on your online dating profile. It's just not an attractive energy in general. The other thing too is that if you feel this way, if you are putting this on your dating profile, you need to stop and you need to delete your dating profile right away, because you should not be dating if you are not over your past hurts, your previous breakups, things like that. Trust me, it is only going to end in pain and suffering if you don't take the time before getting back into the dating world, taking the time to really heal yourself, to heal your heart, to heal from these past hurts. You have to take that time. It's necessary. And you have to work through these things, and possibly a negative mindset as well on top of that. If it was a bad breakup, if it was painful, things like that, you have to get in that place. So if you're putting that on your online dating profile or want to, you should not even be online dating, because you have some other steps you need to be taking. You have some internal things you have to be working on within yourself first before you can go online dating, because you just won't be, if you don't work on those things first, you just won't be successful with online dating. It's only going to lead to frustration. It's only going to lead to pain and hurt for you in the end. So, looking at another tip that I want to share with you guys, and this is a big one. It's something I see both men and women do, but because you guys are men, focusing on you guys, and it's such a common thing I do, that I would see when I was online dating, which is listing all your requirements. So I want to preface, because we've briefly talked about requirements, standards, things like that before in lives. And, I want to preface saying that there is nothing wrong with knowing what you want. In fact, that is one of the steps necessary that you need to take before being successful when it comes to online dating or dating in general, is getting clear on what you want and don't want. So it's something I definitely recommend doing. Now, the problem is when we take that almost to an extreme level where we make a large list of requirements. And the problem is when you have a large list of requirements, usually majority of the time, that probably means that your standards are too high or unrealistic. If you have like 20 plus things you're looking for in a woman, then you're probably being unrealistic, especially depending on what you're writing in those 20 plus things. It's probably unrealistic. It's probably just way too high, and you're being almost to the point of, being too picky in that way, and too closed off from your options and opportunities with women that you could meet. And I see a lot of people out there that make the mistake of listing their requirements, no matter how many there are, but listing their requirements on a dating profile. So the problem with doing that is that by listing your requirements on your dating profile, even if they're realistic, even if it's a small list, it actually discourages women from contacting you. Even the women that actually fit your requirements. And the reason why, to sum it up, is because when you list your requirements on your online dating profile, to put it bluntly, it gives the impression that you're a jerk. Why would a woman want to talk to you? You have this whole list. And I can say again, I see women making this mistake as well, where I see them listing their requirements with men. And some of them I often hear that are unrealistic standards that they're putting out there on men. So I see both on both sides. But it's just like if you were to see a woman's profile and she's sitting there listing, well, I want a man who's tall, who's at least 6 foot or taller. I know that's a big one. I hear complaints from you guys seeing on woman's profile. And, has this color hair, looks this way, has these certain personality traits, all this huge list, even if it's a small list, like I said. But I know it turns you guys off because I get messages from you guys talking about it. You guys message me all the time about how women, that you're seeing online have these unrealistic standards and stuff like that. And I hate to break it to you guys, but you guys also as well do have sometimes those unrealistic standards as well. So, like I said, when you list them on your profile, it discourages every woman from wanting to talk to you because it does give off like a really jerky vibe that you're not someone she's going to want to connect with, even if she fits your requirements that you're listing, that it's just a very unattractive thing to see on a dating profile. And again, I know you guys feel the same way about women, so you really have to think about that. If you're seeing that from women's profiles and that's turning you off, then you got to make sure that you're not also doing that on your profile as well. So when we kind of think about this tip that I shared, not listing your requirements, instead of listing them, I want you guys to kind of turn it around and instead list date ideas or activities that you like to do. So let's say, I'll give you guys an example to just kind of explain a little bit more what I mean by that. So let's say that you want a woman that is active, just as an example to put out there. So you want a woman that lives an active lifestyle. So instead of saying, well, I want a woman with a banging body, or, something along that line, or worse. I've seen worse. But, something along that line, that instead of saying that, you can word it in a way that says, I'd love to go on a hike with my dream woman to my favorite waterfall. So this is just an example here. But a statement like that not only tells me, goes back to that tip, right? The show, don't tell, tells me something about you. Okay, so you're active, you like the outdoors, you like nature. That's painting a picture for me. But now you're taking a step further where I can visualize myself on a date with you. Okay, because we're going to go on visualizing now. We're going on this hiking date. You're taking me to this waterfall, right? It's really romantic spot, really romantic date. Okay, so I can visualize that. And then third, it also accomplishes that, okay, this is the type of woman he also wants in his life. This is the type of woman he wants to date, is someone who's going to be active, someone who's going to enjoy the outdoors, someone who's going to enjoy nature. So this is just an example here, but it's so much more effective. Like I said, you're filling out 3 big key areas that an online dating profile should be, really honing in on. In just that one statement. You could have just said before, referencing to my other tips that I shared, I'm an active person. I'm looking for a woman that's active, or, going as far as I want a woman with a banging body, that kind of stuff. Like, instead of saying that, which is either going to be boring and generic sounding, or to the point of almost disrespectful and insulting, depending on how far you go with what you state, it's just not something that's really attractive to a woman just to lay it out like that. So you want to lay it out in a way that paints that visual picture, gives me a snapshot of what you're like, what you like to do, what your day-to-day could look like, but also in turn visually paints a picture of what it would be like to go on a date with you. And then on top of that, also communicates the type of woman you're looking to be with, you're looking to date. So again, really, really effective in this way to really hone in and attract high quality women, and the type of high quality woman that you want to be with as well. So before I move on to the next tip, I do want to state one thing that I think is so important to note when it comes to talking about requirement standards. I think it's so important for us to note. So like I said, it's so important for us to know what we want, get clarity on that, what we don't want, things like that. We all have certain types out there. That's great. That's important. What I want to make sure that you guys also keep in mind is that the standards you have, the requirements you have, the things you want in a woman, you need to also be sure the standards you're putting out there, the requirements you're putting out there, you're meeting your own standards and requirements. I've seen time and time again, this is just an example here, where there is a man who, could be someone who's more a couch potato, just wants to kind of sit home, watch movies, never goes out for a run or a jog, doesn't really play sports, altogether not a very active person. Now, in the grand scheme of things, there's nothing wrong with that, but the problem is that he has the standard of wanting to be with a woman that has a very attractive body figure to him, who is very active, who, maybe eats healthy, who works out all the time, things like that. The problem is a woman like that is not going to find a man who's like very much couch potato sedentary lifestyle very attractive, because frankly, your lifestyles just don't match. If she wants to go out for a run every day, that's going to be very difficult, because she might want to bring you along, right? She's a very active lifestyle. You're going to be struggling to keep up with her. And she wants to ultimately be with a partner that can keep up with her. So, right? So make sure that the standards and requirements that you have, you're meeting them as well. That's just very important that I share that with you guys. So that's a great transition actually into the next tip I want to share with you guys, which again is something I feel like should be common sense, but for some reason I remember seeing this time and time again when I was single and online dating. A lot of profiles out there that were very negative or conveyed a very negative tone. So what do I mean by that? So a lot of men's profiles that I remember seeing would see things like, they would say things like, all women are cheaters, all women are gold diggers. Oh, what's the point of doing this? You women just want me for my money. Or I'm thinking of real life examples here, guys, that I'm remembering back when I was single. Or, what's the point of this? I'm just ugly. You wouldn't like me anyways. Or other ones I've seen too that were things like, well, if you don't like dogs, don't even bother messaging me. Just very, very negative mindset, very negative tones, things like that. So, when I gave the examples of things like all women are cheaters, all women are gold diggers, things like that, that's an example there of, if that's things that you are feeling, if you're in that type of mindset that basically along the lines, and I did a live on this and I've shared it actually with a number of guys, because I do hear this commonly. A lot of guys have the mindset of women are all the same. All they want is a guy that's wealthy. Women are just gonna cheat on me and hurt me, having that type of negative mindset. So first things first, again, that's another example there, that if you're writing things like that on your profile or want to write things like that because you have that mindset, you should not be online dating. You need to delete your profile, because that is internal things you need to work on yourself. So speaking to kind of those points there. Now, speaking to the example I gave about the whole, if you don't like dogs, don't even bother messaging me. That was just an example there. But something like that, again, there's nothing wrong with having certain preferences or having certain types, things like that. But again, if you put something like that on your profile, it's going to discourage all women out there from messaging you, even the ones that love dogs. That's an example there. But, I also see too, again, going back to that kind of list of requirements, right? If you're not X, Y, and Z, don't even message me. If you're not a brunette with long legs and can sing, I don't know, random example, don't even message me. Wow, that really just narrows the field for you. And the women, like I said, that fit those requirements even that you have are just not even going to message you, because all of this screams, saying that all women are, X, Y, and Z, all women are cheaters, all women are gold diggers, just being really disrespectful to all women in general, because that's not fair to generalize us, but to have that kind of negative mindset and to really just be so negative in tone in your profile, it all just screams one thing: that you're a huge asshole, to put it bluntly. That just tells me you're a huge asshole. That tells every woman out there And no one wants to message a man that's coming across as an asshole. So be very, very careful how you word things on your profile, what you're including in your profile, avoiding that negative tone, that negative language. So another tip I want to share with you guys, and this is going to be the final tip I'm going to share with you guys in this live. And I think this one's important, and I think this one tends to not be brought up a lot. And I don't know why, because I think it's so important, but I think it's so important to really edit your profile for any spelling and grammar mistakes. So this is something that I've looked up, like statistics wise, and even especially what women think about this. And such a high percentage of women actually stated they did not message a man, either the first message or responding back to his message, because his profile was either so difficult to read or it just looked terrible because there were so many grammar and spelling mistakes. They struggled to read the profile, things like that. And really, when you don't take the time to really proofread your dating profile, it really can come across as very careless, lazy, can give the impression that you're stupid, you're not intelligent, very negative qualities, not very attractive qualities. They're qualities you would not find attractive in a woman. So I think it's just so important to make note of this tip, because for women, like I said, going back to what I said earlier, women read bios. They very much read your bios and your full profiles. And when a woman sees a man that can write, has intelligent sounding writing, and I'm not saying intelligent to the point that you, go over your intelligence level, like you can write like an average man, but at the same time that when it comes to the spelling and grammar mistakes, that, someone who has a profile that's error-free, or, maybe one or two minor spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes, very, very minor, are possible. But, someone that just has that impeccable profile is really attractive to a lot of women out there, according to statistics even. And I can also say that on a personal level as well, because a profile like that really shows a lot of positive qualities to me. It shows thoughtfulness, because it shows a man that put in effort to his profile to make sure spelling was correct, grammar was correct. He took the time to obviously write his profile and his bio and complete that. It shows detail-orientedness. It shows that a man is observant. And it shows just basic intelligence too, just common, almost like common sense intelligence in a way. That you have a profile that's error-free, or just maybe only has like a minor mistake or two. So I think it's so important. So I know, because I never like to assume, so there might be some of you guys in the group, hearing kind of this tip, and you think, maybe it's a situation, because I don't like to assume, but maybe English is not your first language. You could have dyslexia, for example, or any other sort of mental disability that makes, English communication, English writing very difficult for you. Or you're just not someone who's really good at proofreading, editing your work, whatever the case being. There's actually a tool that I use. It's a free editing tool. And this, guys, will really, really help you guys a lot. This is kind of like my free gift to you. It's a free editing tool. It's called Grammarly. So spelt GRAMMARLY.com. This is a fantastic editing tool. And what you can do is when you write out your online dating profile, when you write out your answers to maybe questions in your profile as well, some dating apps ask you questions. So what you can do is you can actually copy and paste the text into this free editing software program. And it will go through, and it's really thorough. I use this like almost every day for my own work. But it'll actually go through, it'll point out spelling, grammar mistakes. It will talk to you about, give you a clarity level to make sure that it's very clear. It really goes in depth. But really the most important thing is that the software really picks up spelling and grammar that you might have missed yourself. Again, that's going to help you when you can pick out those spelling and grammar mistakes and have that almost, or if not, error-free profile, that's something that's going to be, a lot more attractive, especially to higher quality women who look for these sort of things, who wants a man, someone who wants a man that can speak proper English, where possible, or at least have a profile that they can thoroughly read, and enjoy reading and not get frustrated or feel any negative feelings towards reading your profile. So again, this one in particular is really backed by statistics out there. That's something women really noted as a very big irritant and deterrent about men's dating profiles out there, being very riddled with spelling and grammar mistakes, and just it being a really big turnoff, and why they might not be responding to a man's message. So anyways, this is my top 6 tips I just shared with you guys to help you with writing your online dating profile. So I know a number of you are online dating already, so I hope you guys can take these tips I shared, go through your online dating profile. So if you haven't written one, watch this video, because I'll always post a replay to the group, but you can watch this video again, go through the tips, keep those in mind for when you're going through and writing out your online dating profile if you don't have one yet. If you do, which I know a number of you guys in the group are online dating and do have dating profiles already, go through your online dating profile, watch this video again, use the tips, and update your online dating profile. Because I feel like if you guys use these tips, I already know you're going to be more successful with online dating, because writing your bio and having a really effective, attractive bio and online dating profile is one of the major areas when it comes to online dating that you really need to be effective at, and to effectively attract your dream woman your way, attract high quality women in general your way, is to have that effective profile. So I hope these tips help you guys.